My name is Angie Dostal, and I live in Janesville with my husband Joshua, who's the pastor at Rock County, Mercy Hill. So I was 17 years old in the back seat of my friend Holly's little Ford Pinto. And being a typical Friday night, there were about 8 of us squished in that car, driving through West Dallas on our way to Johnny V's restaurant, where we would spend all night ordering nothing but coffee and driving the waitresses crazy by table hopping to debate philosophy with our big group of friends. To give you a little bit of an idea of who I was at this point in my life, I'll tell you kind of about the events leading up to this point. When I was 4, my parents divorced and my mom moved out, leaving my younger sister and I to live with my dad. She faithfully picked us up twice a week, but she was always more of a friend to me than she was a mother. I knew even at that really young age that my happiness made my parents happy, and I spent pretty much my entire childhood just being okay all the time. I never talked about how horribly I was teased at school about my dirty clothes, or about how scary it was for me to break into my house with a butter knife because I had lost my keys again at the age of 6. My dad had really high expectations for us, and since we weren't religious, avoiding his disappointment was pretty much my only moral compass. When I was a little bit older, we started attending a Unitarian Universalist church, where I learned that I was supposed to make my own path and become whoever I wanted to be. And after living so long trying to please everyone else and be what I was supposed to be, this idea of doing whatever I wanted was really pretty appealing to me. I felt like I had disappointed my dad enough times that it just really didn't matter anymore. By the time I was 14, I started smoking and just followed that path, drinking and sex and drugs, all by the time I was 16. I started dabbling in witchcraft and was really drawn to the mystery of that dark spiritual world. But I really had only this very thin veneer of happiness. Underneath the surface, I just had this constant, dull, heavy ache that was always with me. I kept broken pieces of glass hidden in my jewelry box, and I would gouge my arms with them because that sharp, vivid pain was such a welcome distraction. By the time I was 17, I went out and bought 2 bottles of Tylenol, and I swallowed them all and sat at a laundromat waiting to die. I was hospitalized for a few days and put on antidepressants. And I was ordered to see a counselor, but nothing touched this feeling of complete hopelessness inside of me. And so it was from that very dark place that I found myself squished in the backseat of Holly's little Pinto with 9-inch nails blaring from the speakers. I remember just looking out the window up at the stars in the night sky, and from the depths of my soul, just silently screaming out, if there is anybody out there, I need you to reach me now, because I am not going to make it. And it was that night at Johnny V's restaurant that this guy came with another friend who had never been with our group of friends, and he shared the gospel. I was just riveted. It was just like all the conversation and noise around me completely faded away, and we spent hours going through all of my skeptical questions. In the end, I simply said, I believe. I wanted this God and His forgiveness. I wanted to be His. It was just like this whole new spiritual reality was open to me that offered hope and purpose and truth and beauty. 2 years later, I found myself living with another guy and holding a positive pregnancy test. Terrified and completely selfish, I went and I had an abortion. I felt no conviction about it. At the abortion clinic, they gave me an ultrasound, and at 7 weeks they told me that there was no baby, that this was just a little bit of tissue that they would be removing. I took a lot of comfort in that, and for the next year and a half, my boyfriend and I just lived on as though nothing had happened. Then one night, I was staying out of town with the only friend who had told me that she believed that the abortion was wrong. While I was sleeping on her floor, I had the most vivid dream that I've ever dreamed. In it, I lived in complete filth with nothing. but I had this baby boy, and he was so beautiful. When I held him, my heart throbbed with this love that I had yet to experience in my life. When I woke up with empty arms, I sobbed, knowing that he was my baby and that I had killed him. My friend cried with me, and she helped me to start grieving for my Isaiah. The guilt of what I had done finally penetrated my hard and prideful heart, and conviction drove me to God. I started spending hours alone with him late at night, just talking to him and writing in my journal and opening my heart to him. Jeremiah 29:13 says that you'll seek me and you will find me when you seek me with all your heart. And even though I was still completely immersed in sin, God spoke to my heart, and he reached me through all of that. And he said to me that I could live with this guy and I could marry him, and you will be happy and I will bless you, but it will never be all that I have for you. And though I didn't know much of anything, I knew that I wanted what he had for me. Eventually, he led me to attend a discipleship training school, which became the springboard for the rest of my life in my walk with him. It's been an amazing adventure, and it's contained all kinds of terrible sorrow and disappointment, as well as the most unimaginable beauty and joy. But through it all, God's promises and his presence have given me joy as I have held on to him. When I get too focused on myself and my imperfections, God reminds me of Romans 5:8, which says, God showed his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. He reached me when I was in the darkest, ugliest, most vile place of sin, because his love is more powerful than all the darkness in this world.